Hello, everyone. Hi, and welcome to Where the Road Rises with me, your host, Eileen Curlin Walsh. As the pandemic rages, what is foremost in many of our minds is the vaccine. Should we take it? Why or why not? If we want it, how can we get it? What is the order of priority to receive it? So I thought, who better to address these questions and more than Illinois Association Pharmacist of the Year and Curlin Walsh Law client, Dr. Miriam Mobley Smith. Dr. Miriam Mobley Smith is current dean and visiting professor at Northeastern University in Boston College of Pharmacy. She has held posts and studied at multiple universities, including Harvard. She has delivered hundreds of lectures throughout the nation, been published in medical journals, and served on many prestigious boards. She has won every possible industry award for her distinguished service, her outstanding contributions to pharmacy, and as if that were not enough, for her volunteerism. Miriam is deeply connected to our Palos Heights community. She serves on the board of Age Options, which is the funding agency for our very own much beloved plows. She has also volunteered for Plows Food Delivery. So she doesn't just sit in the boardroom, she gets out there and is on the pavement and in the trenches with her work. She is a gold mine of relevant and valuable information, as well as a master storyteller. And I am just delighted that she will share her insight with us today. Welcome, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Eileen. I tell you, I don't know if I could really live up to all of that you just said, but suffice it to say, I am absolutely delighted to be here today and to talk with you and our, viewers. This is something I love doing. If there's anything that I can contribute to the health and well-being of the community, I'm all there.
Wonderful, Miriam. And you say, can you live up to that? I just scratched the surface of this woman's qualifications. So let's jump right into the vaccine, Miriam. That's where our audience minds are right now. Would you or would you not advise our viewers to take it? Maybe you could give us a little 101 on how the virus works or how the vaccine works, and are we exposing ourselves to possible infection if we have the vaccine? Maybe give us a little bit of your knowledge and wisdom on that subject.
Okay, be absolutely happy to. I guess the way to start off with it is to show my strong support for the vaccine to the point where I have indeed received shot number one. Okay.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
because you do have to wait either 3 weeks or 4 weeks to get shot number two, because it's a two-shot series and it won't work to its top effectiveness if you only get one. So I've
Mhm.
received the Moderna, not the Pfizer, because the two that are available right now are those two. Moderna is the one with 28 days in between dose one and dose two.
Right.
So actually, my second dose is scheduled for February 11th. And absolutely, I will be there arm bared to get that second shot. If it's a Pfizer, and I know both are available in Illinois and in the metropolitan Chicago area, depending on where you go to get it, that one is a 21-day difference in between or wait period. And so about 3 weeks. So it's very important when when you get the vaccine and you get the little card that indicates you have received it, that you pay attention to that Pfizer versus Moderna. And generally, they would have already scheduled you at that point for your second dose. So don't lose the card. Don't forget the date. Put it on your written calendar, your electronic calendar, your phone, whatever you use to keep track of your life. Make sure you go get that second dose. Because right now, it looks like the effectiveness is somewhere in the 90 to 95% arena. And so if you don't get the second shot, you won't get the benefit of that full effectiveness. So that's how I wanted to start out. I'm a card carrying member. In fact, if I could show you my card, I would. And I didn't even think about that. I could have actually just showed it and say,
Yeah.
yes, I got it. But I did. All right. So the first thing I guess I want to say, because there's a lot of questions about the vaccine, its safety, its effectiveness, suspicion around, oh, it was produced too quickly. Part of that is, politics sort of intertwining in all of this. I mean, really, you think about it, it's like, what's a person to think and do when all this, information is coming out, some of it very contrary and so on. But number one, even though messenger RNA, which is what it's called, the technology around the vaccine is quote unquote newer, but not really. The research behind it has been going on well over a decade. And so we're really fortunate that that research has been going on, because that and the dollars that the federal government has put in behind it, and even private citizens, because of the urgency of treating, of really working with this pandemic, it was so great, all hands on deck. And so what may have appeared to be something that, came out of the woodwork overnight, indeed is not the case. So that's more of an old wives' tale, if you want to call it that. And so in essence, the same mechanism that would be used to test the safety profile of medication, of other drugs that are coming on the market, has been used. But we were able to move it along the continuum very quickly to get us to where we need to go. And isn't that a wonderful thing? So, yeah. Now I can keep talking. You can stop me at any point, because I can talk and talk. So I'll take a breath, and then that allows you to ask me something as you want before I keep going.
Yeah. So why don't we then? I'm going to jump in with these new strains that we're hearing of in recent weeks, the UK strain, the South African
Mhm.
strain. If someone like you who has already received the vaccine as anticipated for the version of the virus that was there last year, are you protected from these new strains, or do you need to reinoculate?
Okay, that's a really good question. So that'll take me into the vaccine itself. Okay, how is it constructed? Well, what I mean by that is, how does it help the body combat the disease? So the actual vaccine, the molecule, as you will, is crafted in such a way to where when you receive it, it tells the body, if it comes into contact with the COVID virus, then it's an enemy to your body. All right. So basically, it's a way to, if you want to call it, trick the body into thinking it is under assault by the the COVID virus.
Mhm.
So it does not contain virus particles. Okay. So nobody's injecting COVID virus into you. So that's a real important part. All right. And
Absolutely.
right. And I'll say, just like flu vaccine and so on, because a lot of those same things come into play where people won't get their flu vaccine saying it'll give me the flu. No, the vaccines, be either flu vaccine or COVID vaccine, will not give you the flu, nor will it give you COVID. So there's the first piece that you absolutely have to understand. Literally, the particles that are injected, and I say the word particles not to scare people, but drugs have particles in them, but they're particles that are useful to the body. So within literally hours or days of the time of getting the shot, the body eliminates what was injected. But what remains is that the cells in your body, which the drug does not go into, it doesn't alter your DNA, it doesn't do anything like that, but it allows your fighter cells to recognize when you come in contact with COVID. And there's a long-term SARS-CoV-2, which is what causes the COVID-19. But when you come into contact with it, either inhalation, you touch your eyes, you touch your mouth, because those are the most common ways for the virus to get into your body says, aha. It's kind of like dun dun da da. we're going to fight it. And that's what a vaccine allows you to do. So the first shot you get, it makes the immune system come on high alert and it begins to work. In fact, these side effects that people talk about is actually showing you that the vaccine is working. Okay. Sore arm, a little tiredness, sometimes a headache, whatever. And everybody's different. So you respond a little differently, react a little differently to it. But as a whole, and I know that there's some there's some situations where people have been allergic to some of the components. Well, that's all drugs. Some people are going to be overly sensitive to it. That's why they have you wait for 15 to 20 minutes after you get it. Because if you're going to have one of those kind of reactions, they have things like EpiPens, epinephrines, things that help you with that reaction. So you haven't read the reports about people having a reaction and dying because they are actually prepared. Wherever you're getting it, they prepare to do it. And the number of people that have their reaction is very, very small. Very, very small. So anyway, your body says, I'm not going to let you, COVID-19, cause me a problem, make me sick, make me have to go to the hospital, get on a ventilator, and heaven forbid, pass away in this world. That's how it works. When you get the second shot, it even solidifies it. That's what takes you to that high percentage of effectiveness. And so at that point, some people have more of those sort of reaction type of things. You may get a fever. You may get a headache. You may be very tired. You may feel like you need to lay in the bed for a day. That tells you the vaccine is working the way it's supposed to. So imagine then after, and there's a few weeks you have to wait after that where you get full protectedness. So if you come into contact with it after that, your body says, it's not happening today. And it starts to fight, fight, fight. And that's in contrast to if you've never had the vaccine at all, your body has no experience coming into contact with the COVID virus. And in that case, it's like open season. The virus comes in, says, I have a field day. I could just go all over. So there's the difference. It's protecting you and it's helping your body fight a deadly disease. And so that's the thing to keep in mind. That's what the vaccine is all about. That's how all vaccines work. For individuals who are on this, who are listening to this, they're very familiar with polio vaccine. They're very familiar with smallpox. I'm old enough. I'm 65 years old, okay? And so I am very familiar. I remember standing in a gymnasium to get my sugar cube that had the red polio vaccine on it and take it. I was in lines in a gymnasium. I remember getting the punch vaccine for smallpox. If you're at this point, you remember people who had to be in iron lungs from polio, people who had pox infections and died from smallpox. You don't hear about smallpox anymore. Why? Because the vaccine helped to eradicate it. And you get to a point called herd immunity. But herd immunity only happens when a good group of people, the right amount of people, get the vaccine. And then those who haven't had it don't really come in contact with the virus anymore. So they then reap the protectiveness of those who have been protected. That's the way it works. So I know that didn't answer your question yet, but now I had to give that before I got to that. So
great. This is great information.
New variations and strains. If I, after fully vaccinated, come into contact with the strain, now the pictures of the COVID virus, you see it has all those little spikes on it, okay? And in fact, I have told people it's too bad that we can't see the spikes or the virus in the air, because maybe that would convince people that it's out there. If you open your front door and you walked out and you saw red, COVID viruses floating down the street with the spikes, you'd be like, I'm going to get my vaccine. You're going to close the door. You'll put on a mask. You'll wash your hands. You'll do every kind of social distancing possible to prevent yourself from having to have a ventilator mask. I've worked on a ventilator unit. It's not pretty. You don't want to get to that point, okay? So maybe that would convince people that it's not a hoax. But anyway, bottom line, all viruses mutate, okay? They do. And some people have said, oh, ultimately the virus wins. Well, no, it doesn't have to win. They all mutate. And so the key is the vaccine that's being produced can predict mutations. So that spike is the piece that causes you the problem. It adheres onto your body cells, it adheres into lung cells, into brain cells, into blood vessel cells, which is why it causes strokes, why it causes high blood pressure crazy, why you can't breathe and it destroys your lungs. It looks for the cells that are receptive to those spikes. So
Mhm.
all of the variants have spikes. And so that's why these vaccines are effective. Now, in time, we will find out the degree of effectiveness to the variants. So if they see that there's not as much effectiveness as with the original version, the chemical structure, a molecular structure of the virus, that's where boosters come in. So think about the flu vaccine, influenza vaccine. Why do you have to get a new shot each year? Because there's new species and variations that emerge from the viruses each year. So we have to get booster shots, basically, those things that help trigger our immune system to more effectiveness. And that's how we continue to work with the process. So the jury's out at this point as to whether we get the COVID vaccine once, whether we get it and it becomes a booster every year, like the flu shot is, every 3, every 5, every 10, nobody knows. And so the shingles vaccine, the shingles itself is another virus, okay?
Mhm.
And so depending on what kind of vaccine you get 2 doses. Those 2 doses, again, boost each other and protect the body. Whether or not it's a shot for life, it's a new version of it out there within the last several years. The Who knows? We don't know yet exactly, but time will tell whether that's the case. And so we found over years that vaccines for virus infections, that sometimes we have to give it a little help as it goes along to continue to be effective and protect us and the population. Understand, vaccines protect the individual, but they also are a public health preventive measure to protect the entire public. So we protect ourselves, but we protect others. It is our responsibility to be a part of those initiatives.
Gosh, this is wonderful information, Miriam, for our seniors, particularly who predominantly watch this show and for whom I gear this show towards. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that little girl getting her sugar cube in the gymnasium. What was it that made that little girl want to be a pharmacist?
Um, I suppose if you wanted to start with that example, pharmacy is about medications, but it's medications that help either cure disease, make disease be, let's say, less devastating, um, and actually help us live longer. I mean, in many ways, the drugs that are available now, many of them weren't available 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And so, as I said, I'm speaking to people who have been around for some time. There have been major changes in
Mhm.
terms of everything. Look at computers, okay? I mean, years ago, what we would put on what we call a little thumb drive used to be a whole room of big, supercomputers and so on. I mean, I can't even imagine. In my mother's lifetime, she passed in 2017 at the ripe age of 94. But just imagine all the things that she had seen and the differences, the changes, and all of that. But anyway, you look at it and, good medicine can help, good medicine can hurt or harm, good medicine can cure, but unfortunately, good medicine can kill as well, particularly if used inappropriately. And so I was fascinated in many ways with medicine. All right, and like, what do I want to do with myself? When I grow up, do I want to be a doctor? Noble profession. But are there other options? Do I want to be a nurse? Do I want to be a dentist? I mean, it's just all these options. And so honestly, I was exposed to pharmacy. Never thought about pharmacy, and a pharmacist's role in keeping people healthy. And And at that point in time, because I've been a pharmacist now for actually over 40 years, and I can't believe that, but that's the truth. And I've seen a lot of change in the profession. But the bottom line is, how do we help people stay healthy? How does pharmacy or pharmacists help do that? Pharmacists are one of the most available healthcare professionals in the communities to be able to help others in terms of manage their health and well-being. And so at that time, we did, in many ways, far less than what we do now. But suffice it to say, it was interesting enough for me to embark upon that journey. And not once have I really thought about, I made a bad decision. I haven't. Because I've been able to do all kinds of things within the profession and within the healthcare environment, things that I never imagined I would be able to do. I mean, I recently I had given an interview for my alma mater, and I grew up in a little town called Ecorse, Michigan, which is outside of Detroit. And I made the statement. I said, who would have ever thought? And as my grown kids say, who would have thunk it? Okay, but who would have ever thought that a little girl from Ecorse, Michigan, would have grown up to become a dean of a college of pharmacy, not one but two colleges of pharmacy,
Mhm.
also work with the federal government, be able to advise the president of the United States on the Affordable Care Act before it launched, be in actually chair of an advisory panel to talk to the president and the secretary Sebelius at that time about, how these things should be rolled out, and to do a number of other things that I've been able to do. But not only that, but to still make an impact by working with the community healthcare network here in Illinois, one of the largest ones, Access Health, to
Mhm.
work with organizations like Age Options and Plows and others to really bring services to the community. I mean, it brings it full circle. This is what being a pharmacist has allowed me to do. Not only work in pharmacies and help people with their medications, but also to affect the greater good. And I feel blessed in every way, every day, that I am able to do that. I strongly believe in giving back to those who have received much as due. And so I do believe in that. I may not have used the right words, but nevertheless, you know where I'm talking about,
You.
and so on. So that's kind of the underpinning. And I know we were going to talk a little bit about those defining moments. I'll wait for that one.
Well, why don't we? You have worked with so many different groups and so many different sectors of the private and the public arena. You have loved working with seniors and you have loved working with students. What is it about seniors? And then tell us, what is it about students that have really, captured your heart?
Well, from a personal story, um, at some point, I knew, if Lord willing, I would be a senior. I hoped to be able to get to that point. The I firmly believe that the best classroom in the world is at the feet of an older adult. They
Ah,
have lived life. They've had a
mhm.
number of experiences. I value being able to apply their experiences to life. Okay, they got to a point that they are in a certain way, and there is value and wisdom that comes from that. Now, accordingly, students haven't lived that life yet. They haven't seen the needs of the older adult population, or actually the new terminology, adults across an older lifespan or age span, because it sounds better than older people, senior citizen. I
I
get it,
like that. I like that.
And so, part of my role is to help the students, help individuals like me who would be an older adult or an adult in an older lifespan or age span at some point in life. And so it's part of my responsibility to help them be the best healthcare professionals that they can be. And I'm going to use the term sponge in a positive way. Sponges absorb, all right, whatever it is that comes toward them. Students are sponges. You're helping them learn. Older adults are sponges as well, because not only do they continue to learn, but they're able then to use what they have learned that's within the sponge. And when you wring it, that knowledge comes out and spews across others. That's right. So it's both ends of the spectrum
It
coming together.
is. Oh,
I
that's
mean,
beautiful.
it really is.
Mhm.
And so, again, part of the blessing, it's, I've worked with, individuals in terms of community education. I've been on town hall meetings with legislators talking with our communities about what we need. Again, Medicare Part D, the medication arm of Medicare, when that was launching, to really talk with our community about what they feel a program like that should look like, to really encourage them to work with their legislators so the program that results is one that would truly benefit them. And then on the flip side, working with students to help educate the population on what they needed to do to take the best effect or make the best use of those of Medicare and the Medicare programs. And on top of it, realizing that it's not only English speaking adults in that older lifespan that need this information, but we're a land of immigrants. People speak all kinds of languages. They come from all kinds of cultures and traditions. So they need the same information. So in doing that, creating that same or replicating that same process in over 25 different languages so that we could work with limited English populations for older adults. And PLOWS is very much a part of all of that. We work with Arab American Association, with Spanish speaking populations, Lithuanian, Polish, I could go on, but they emanate out of these local agencies like PLOWS. And so by working with Age Options to be able to do that. So you could see why it's exciting,
Yeah.
why it's so important, why it's so needed. And I all the time encourage people to volunteer, even those who are recipients of these services, like from PLOWS. It's seniors helping seniors. I know I'm using the term seniors again because that's what they use, but like red tape cutters and other kind of programs that have been in place, memory cafes, so on and so forth. Seniors helping seniors. They've lived the life, they know what folk need, and they're in a real good position to help each other and work together as a collective to respond to it. Mhm.
Oh, Miriam, what a career. What an absolute career. And let's pinpoint then that career defining moment that within pharmacy help guide you and direct the future decades of your career.
Okay, sure. So, there can be defining moments in whatever in life, career choices, and so on. Sometimes it's great stuff, sometimes it's tragic stuff, but it's the lesson that you learn from it and how you apply it. So in my case, my great aunt had severe arthritis, severe. And so, being an individual who lived in an urban area, in fact, in Baltimore, Maryland, and going from doctor to doctor, a lot of clinics and so on because of an economic situation. And so she would get prescriptions for medication to treat the arthritis. And so ibuprofen, which traditionally was known as Motrin, nowadays available over the counter, ibuprofen 200 milligram tablets and so on. It has directions, it tells you how to use it and how not to use it. But at that time, Motrin was available both as brand and as generic, but larger doses, so 800 milligram doses. And what was that used for? And those are prescription only. What is it used for? To treat pain, swelling, arthritis of different types, and other related diseases or health conditions. And so, because she went to different doctors and different pharmacies, and when we get to talking about my suggestions to people to stay healthy with medicine, this is a take home message. Try as best as you can to not do doctor hopping. I get it because of economics, but you have to be careful with that. Also, pharmacy hopping. Now, if you go to a CVS or a Walgreens or whatever your favorite pharmacy is, they have their computer system. And if you go to different ones of those, then they have a system and they can look in and see what you've taken. Okay. But if you go to Walgreens and then you turn around and go to CVS, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not endorsing those two companies, I'm just using them as an example because there's plenty of options out there. But the computer at CVS does not talk to the computer at Walgreens or Rite Aid or any other matter like that. So you have to have personal responsibility to carry your drug list, your medication list, so you can show the pharmacist what you're taking, and then they won't inadvertently give you something. And same thing for your doctor. You see a doctor, you need your medicine list. You have to be responsible for that so that your healthcare professionals make good choices for you, because bad information in, bad information out. And the bad information can kill you, okay? And in this case, it did. So, different doctors, different pharmacies, prescription for Motrin and a prescription for ibuprofen. Same thing, but different names.
Yes.
So you got two prescriptions, you got two vials of medicine, and as far as you know, you're supposed to be taking all of it. So
Mhm.
she's taking ibuprofen 800 milligrams and Motrin 800 milligrams at the same time. So you're double dosing, triple dosing yourself. Well, yes, it'll take away your pain, but it'll take away something else. So what she had was called a GI or gastrointestinal bleed, a hemorrhage in her stomach. And so she bled so much that she had to go to the hospital, into the emergency room. She lost so much blood, she had a heart attack and she died.
Mhm.
So that's a tragedy that was preventable, totally. So I did in the Blue Cross Blue Shield series, be smart, be well. I talked about this particular event. It was what I had sent you just as a background. And I said, you know what? No one needs to die because of those kinds of things. Preventable situations, all right? And it happens more than we like to think about, even like hospitalizations, deaths relating to what I call medication misadventures. Not
Mhm.
adventures. Adventures is like a vacation.
Yeah.
Trust me, this is not a vacation, it's a misadventure. But deaths can be prevented from these misadventures. And
Mhm.
so, if there was anything I could do as a healthcare professional and as a pharmacist, because medications, we're medication experts. If there's
Mhm.
anything I can do with the individuals that I work with to prevent those kinds of tragedies from occurring, it is my responsibility to do that. And older adults are really the most vulnerable population as it pertains to medications, those and children, okay, because they respond to medicine differently. But if you look at the number of medications that a person who is older takes, it's in many cases about 50% more than everybody else,
Yes.
because your body ages, it needs various things, and so you're very sensitive to those drugs. And
Mhm.
so we have to work with our patients, with the individuals in the communities. We need to help them use the medications properly and not get sicker or die as a result of using the medications. Communications becomes so very important. So that's how tragedy comes to
Yeah,
what I've
to
done.
inform your career. And what advice would you give people with regard to their prescriptions and over the counters to prevent an accident?
You got to talk about it, okay? When you go to a pharmacy and you pick up your medication from wherever you get it, even with mail order, because a lot of us end up in mail order situations. Don't just take it and say, oh, okay, I'm supposed to take this medicine, and start taking it. You need to talk with your physicians, your doctors, talk with your pharmacist about the medication. What do you expect to happen when you take it? What would be the unexpected effects that could occur? If those unexpected effects occur, what should you do about it? If you accidentally miss a dose, should you double up? What period of time can elapse between doses, which would make it safe to make up the missed dose if you really can? Those are questions you need to ask. If you pick up your medicine or it's given to you and it looks different than what you had gotten before, you need to not just take it, you need to ask. Because they can change companies, especially with generic medicine. And
Yeah.
it can look different. It can be a different shape, a different color. But along with it, we're all humans, right? And so mistakes could be made. Would you rather find out the mistake was made after you took something wrong and end up in the hospital? Would you want to know that ahead of time? So if a mistake occurred, it could be corrected before you put it in your mouth. So the big piece is you got to talk about your medication, have open dialogue with your healthcare professionals about it. So before you take it, ask about it. But like I said earlier, try to limit where you get your medications to the same pharmacies or the same group of pharmacies. And I don't want to leave out the independent pharmacies. Those are those that are not a part of a chain, but these are individuals who own the pharmacies themselves. They're a wealth of knowledge and information. I do strongly recommend the utilization of them. Then you don't have to worry about as well the if I go to this branch or that branch or that branch, do they have the information? If you deal with one source, they will have the information and they'll help keep you healthy. The other thing is that now, where do you get your vaccines most of the time? From pharmacies and pharmacists.
Mm-hmm.
And so the value to a patient's health and well-being grows and grows in terms of your relationship with your pharmacist.
Wonderful, wonderful information. You mentioned, Miriam, how many medications our seniors or our adults across the later decades of their lives take. I have very elderly parents. My father is 94, my mother is 91. I helped care for them very recently. I was amazed at the spectrum of medication
Right.
and how it was taking care of their hearts, their lungs, their
Right.
digestion, their nutrition, their cholesterol, their mental health, their mental well being. Every single system, every single aspect of their lives is being improved. In fact, they're keeping them alive. Now we may have some question about quality of life, as those medications do keep our systems going. But how amazing to stop and look at where we are at with the most amazing advances in modern medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We truly can take it for granted. It's nice to stop sometimes and look at just how advanced and miraculous it really is.
Well, as an example, heart failure, which is a high percentage of individuals, in the US and across the world have that problem. Hypertension or high blood pressure. A lot of it is lifestyle related, but nevertheless, it's way up there in terms of the number of people that have it. Diabetes and so on. These are health conditions that used to kill people far quicker than they do now. These days, we have medications that help not only prolong life, but improve quality of life. But that's why you have to respect these medications and what they can do well and what they can do to cause problems. But it's not just prescription medications, it's over the counter. You think about those things you can actually just go and buy off the counter in a pharmacy or a grocery store, depending on where you go get your over the counter medicines like Tylenol, aspirin, and so on.
Mhm.
Because you can't say that just because it's over the counter that it's harmless. That is not the case. And so, like the ibuprofen, example I gave earlier, the tablet strength is 200 milligrams that you buy off the shelf. What killed my great aunt were 800 milligram tablets. Last time I did math, 200 times 4 is 800. So, what's stopping you as a consumer from taking 4 tablets instead of one for whatever it is that ails you? I remember someone telling me, "Oh, I'm a big strapping guy. So I'm larger, have a bigger girth. That the bottle says take 1 to 2 tablets because I'm bigger. That means I need to take 2 to 4." Okay, well, now you're in the prescription strength. If you do that, you take too many, you might have a problem. If you happen to like a glass of wine or two every now and then, or a shot of something else, you mix it with that kind of medicine, you might have a different kind of problem. If you take Tylenol or acetaminophen and you drink too much, it'll kill your liver. Okay, it might not do it right away, but it may do it over time. So you have to respect all the medication. So, in other words, like I said earlier, good medication can help. Good medication can help with symptoms. Good medication can cure in some cases. But unfortunately, good medication can kill if used improperly.
It's a brilliant lesson, Miriam. It really is. Now, let me ask you this. So, you have had that whole lifetime, and here you are, surprisingly at 65, because you certainly don't look it, and you're still teaching, you're still volunteering,
Mhm.
you're still working. What is that lifetime of pharmacy work with people, often at their most vulnerable, because we're not going to the pharmacy or the hospital or the doctor unless there's something is ailing us. What has that taught you about the human condition?
That's a loaded question. So that,
Yeah,
that takes
little
me into that.
philosophy, what.
Yeah, that takes me into that personal experience again, a different kind of personal experience. So I have, as you mentioned, given a lot of community-based presentations, and so I would work with the regional health centers, with the Chicago Department on Aging, with the different regional areas, and so on. So I'm at one of the centers one day, whole room of folks across that older age span, and I'm talking about the things we need to do for preventive health, to stay totally healthy, and so on. And I'm talking about hypertension, blood pressure, which hypertension, cholesterol, all those kinds of things. And I'm severely overweight. Okay. I'm just telling you, just not good at all. I had blood pressure that wasn't in control. I had cholesterol that wasn't in control. Oh, I had low back pain, but yet I'm telling the message as it should be told. Okay. But what's wrong with that picture? What is wrong? I'm a healthcare professional.
Mm,
What is wrong with that picture? So one of the attendees that day says, Miriam, we love you dearly. The information you bring to us is relevant. We work with you in the clinics and so on, because we actually had clinics that were going there where we would have people we worked with all the time when we came. And they said, well, Miriam, I can appreciate everything you're saying. Why aren't you living up to it? What's your issue? How do you come back to what answer do you give to something like that? Okay. Point blank. And you're like, you know, I don't have a good answer for you. It's terrible. I said, what I'm saying is what? Do as I say and not do as I do. That was very relevant. And I don't know if any of the people I've worked with ever just challenged me that way. And I'm like, you know what? That's just ridiculous, because I'm telling them to be healthy, and I haven't loved myself enough to be healthy too. And so through a series of events, I actually said, I need to shut this down. Okay. Totally shut it down. And I did. All right. With a lot of prayer, with some other things. And my sister is my older sister, 13 years older than I. And literally, you go in her kitchen, you see like all the pharmacy bottles. You can't escape your genes per se. I'm like, that's my future unless I get a grip on all of this. All the stuff I've been telling people as I get older, I need to implement it myself. So I said, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation. I said, Lord, I need to do something about this. I need strength. I'm going to do it. And so the next morning I woke up, I shut it down. Now, I'm not saying it was easy. I mean, not with surgeries or any of those things. Changed my eating habits, embedded the exercise again. I started weightlifting. I started swimming. I mean, it took a while. It was a journey. Wasn't anything that happened overnight. And it took me 4 years, okay, because I was going to do this the right way. I was going to embed these principles in me. I actually started at age 60, with what I need. I'm mad at myself that I let so much time go by, that
oh,
I did not take care of this. I had my kids, I gained weight all the time, tried these fad diets, it didn't work. It's like, you know what? I need to get serious about this. So, end result, I started out on that journey. I mean, at my heaviest, I was like a size 20, 22, which made no sense at all.
mhm.
I am now at 8. Okay. I've been a size 8. I lost 110 pounds. My blood pressure is totally in control. My cholesterol is in control. I have no more back pain. I'm telling you, it can be done. And so, even the weightlifting and this and that, if you're sitting there watching television, you can take a 1 pound, 2 pound weight. And if you don't have those at home, you can find something similar at home. As you're sitting there, you can just do like this. Okay. You can't, yeah.
Mhm.
And watching the news, doing whatever, you're keeping yourself active. You can do the same thing with your feet. Walk more. Now, outside is kind of cold. I'm not saying you can do it out there in the snow and the ice because you don't want anybody to fall. But if you do these things, it stabilizes what they call your core, so that your stability is even better. What one thing happens with us as we age, we get unstable, we fall. And if people fall and they break stuff, about 10% of them die in a year, even healthy people, okay, because of the chemical cascade and the things that happen at that point. All this is prevented. You can prevent it, okay, in some form or fashion. I'm saying it's never too late. So at 60 years old, I said enough is enough. And over a period of time, I lost 110 pounds and I have gotten it together. And so, but it's still hard. I get it. I struggle with it every day. But it's worth it because you know what? You got to love yourself first. And
Uh,
then on top of it, now I can show others. And so that paying it forward begins to pay forward in different ways. And so with the individuals that I still talk with, they're like, Miriam, you did it. You can do it. I can do it. And that's what you want to see.
Talk about life defining. That truly was life defining. That the people that you were teaching taught you. Oh, I love that, Miriam. And what about your students? How do you think we're doing as you look at these young minds as they start out at the beginnings of their careers and in the middle of their learning? Are we doing good? Are you optimistic for our future?
Mhm. I really am. I'm so excited. I mean, if you look at technology, I mean, the pandemic has allowed us to make a switch in a lot of different ways. And to remote learning, to what we're doing today over the airwaves, basically, and so on. But the motivations that I see, the initiatives, the desire to make a difference in this world, is live and well with our young folk. And I enjoy every time when I teach them, when I work with them. I mean, a big part of the enjoyment that I get being a dean is not necessarily, I'm not in a situation these days where I can do all the groundwork, as I call it, be out in the community all the time like I have before. But what I do is I'm able to create an infrastructure for people to be successful. That's my faculty, that's the students, that's others that we work with. And so that's be it, find financial resources or people resources to get the job done. But our future is well in hand with the students. They are going to be the ones to take care of us in the future. We owe it to our future to be able to help enable them with the best tools possible to be
Oh,
able to do that job. Do I think that the future? Because I know we have our time is wrapping up. Do we have what does the future look like? I don't think we're going to pivot to exactly the way we were before. That's the old normal. We have a new normal. And the new normal is not bad. I mean, if you think about it, when were we able in the past to have a health visit through Zoom or Teams or some other entity? Now,
mhm.
mind you, you can't do all of it online, but you can do a lot of it. And now, with the ability to integrate like blood pressure readings, because you can take them at home and it'll upload, to whatever the MyChart site or whatever people are using, you can do that. You can prick your finger if you have diabetes, and the reading can go right to your doctor electronically. You can have those visits. You don't have to go find some transportation that's not coming to get to your doctor's office or your clinic. And the way we use, I communicate with my family via Zoom. So I see my grandchildren. I have 5 of them. And so I see them. We have Zoom talks. It's just all kinds of things. And so the integration of what we did before and what we're doing now is here to stay. And actually, it's a good thing. It also provides an opportunity to improve the infrastructure. There are parts of this United States that don't have the same electronic bandwidth as others. So we need to bring them up to speed. Our students who are at home trying to learn over the internet, not all of them have the same level of connectivity. It gives us the opportunity to fix that so that a whole cohort, a whole group of folk don't get left behind. So it's up to us to implement those things.
And
Right.
my profession too. We are
Yep.
now able to do will signings, which is how you and I met, through video conferencing. So, I mean, for years we've gone to hospitals and gone to people's homes if they could not come to the hospital. Now we have a solution where we can be in our office, they can be in their homes, and it can be tremendously convenient. Now, is that the way of the future? Will we go back after we have no longer have the emergency order? In my profession, we don't
Right.
know, but I think we all know it's not going to look the way it did before the
And
pandemic.
that is so very true. It
Absolutely.
is absolutely so true. But you know what though? It's an exciting time. It really is. And it's how we look at it and what we make of those exciting times. So we can either fear it or we can embrace it. And by embracing it, we actually then can capitalize on it in terms of helping us achieve the things we want to achieve. And that's the way we really need to look at it. And so I'm really, honestly, I'm so excited. I'm so pumped, to think about in my lifetime, just what that means. Yeah. I don't know if you feel that way, but I certainly do.
I know that for those who have lost their financial security and for those who have lost family members, it's just a tragedy that it's probably going to be very hard for them to see any light in. For those of us who have not had those situations, I think there are definitely some lights amongst the shadows, and some changes that will be for the good and some changes that are going to stay with us. Miriam, I think it would be nice if we left on maybe again some advice from your pharmacy expertise. Many of my clients are expressing frustration, those who want the vaccine, where to go get it, what
Mhm.
order, do they have to wait, should they go to their pharmacist, their doctor, what is, could you give us my viewers a little advice if they want the vaccine, what the best way for them to find out how and when they can get it?
Absolutely. Because we are all in Cook County, um, there's several ways. And actually, the same can be applied to people in other counties as well, if folk are looking at this from other places. We have the Cook County Department of Public Health, and they actually have put a link out there for individuals to sign up. But also, if you have a regular physician, they're helping facilitate it through the doctor's office at some of the medical centers. So if depending on where people go, to Palos, to Silver Cross, and so on, they can work through there. I know that's Will County, but nevertheless, still, you
Mm.
can do it through your medical centers. There, if one is internet savvy, you can go online and see where the vaccine centers will be, administration centers, because the county is actually opening those. In fact, I got a link the other day to one in Chicago Heights and to Robbins and some other places for individuals that live there. Now, obviously, you have to qualify for that phase that they're in, but all the folk who are watching this would qualify for that if they haven't gotten it already, because they've dropped it even down to age 65 at this point, where it was 75 before.
Yes.
But those are the primary areas. Now, the other to watch out for are your community pharmacies. So CVS, Walgreens, those are prominent ones in our area, but even some of the independent pharmacies. And I'm leaving some of the names out. Oh, Walmart, I don't want to go through an exhaustive list, but anyway, they are getting vaccine as well. And they are rolling out their clinics and appointments. So you can call one of the pharmacies and say, are you doing vaccines? I want to get on the list. And that's the way. So the
Okay.
rollout was not smooth to start off with from the federal government. They were really creating a situation where every state would be up in for itself, which I don't agree with, but who am I? Okay. But now it's getting better and better, more vaccine availability. And there's even nuances with that, though, in terms of once you open certain vials, you have to use it within 6 hours. And so if people don't show up for their appointment, then folks are scrambling to be able to find people to give the vaccine to before they end up throwing it away. That's a tragedy to
Yes.
throw away vaccine when you really need to give it. So it really is a process. Okay. It's not a smooth process at all, but nevertheless, it's one that can work. So, I would say be vigilant about it because how I started out, this is important for your health and well being. And so, seek that vaccine, get that vaccine. Now, I'm not saying get in a long line and start fighting people. It's like back
Mhm.
years ago when people were trying to buy Cabbage Patch dolls for their kids and they would go into Toys R Us and all start, fighting over the last Cabbage Patch doll. I don't envision crazy like that. But on the other hand, as the rollout gets better, just make sure your first opportunity to sign up to get it, do it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. That's a nice, helpful, hopeful note for us to end in. And when I said you were a gold mine of information, heavens, you did not let me down. Miriam, that was wonderful. And I know our viewers will love this information. Thank you so much for joining us. That was a treasure and a delight. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and please God, 2021 will deliver a new world where we can all be safe and have our adventures and go shopping and go on vacation and all the things that we want to do. I will leave you with a wonderful quote I read recently from the late great Wayne Dyer, and that was, "You will not find your heart in a temple if you don't have a temple in your heart." To
Oh my
here's to
gosh.
a temple in all of our hearts in 2021 and beyond. Thank you again, Miriam. Thank you, viewers, for watching, and I will see you next time on Where the Road Rises. Goodbye.
My pleasure.